My name is Matt Childress. This is a 1998 TEDxUIUC Active. It is an electric motorcycle human hybrid, so electric human hybrid. I've been operating the TEDxUIUC for a little over 10 years now. I first started getting interested in driving the TEDxUIUC or looking at the TEDxUIUC because I'm a bicyclist by heart. Back then I had a baby girl and another one on the way, and I worked at the university. So the typical solution at the U of I when you work there is, well, take the bus. When you've got a kiddo that you've got to get to daycare and pick up after daycare at a certain time, the bus doesn't really work for you. So I was looking at ways that I could successfully deal with those issues.
Well, over the course of making plans for our community, particularly transportation plans, the public consistently told us that they wanted to be able to walk and bike and use transit to get more places. They wanted to drive less. They didn't ask for expensive things. They asked for better street lighting, bike lanes, and sidewalks. Those are all part of complete streets. So our planning processes and public input told us this is what the public wanted.
Now with the addition of complete streets where we have lanes for bicyclists, lanes for people that have smaller vehicles that want to move slower, it's a lot easier to basically proceed at the pace that I want to go at, and the other cars that are behind me don't have to wait because we have things like wider bicycle lanes that I can be in the wider bicycle lane and things like that. The major thoroughfares are a lot easier to navigate. I can drive on the big roads with the big cars and they stay over in the faster lanes, and I get to be over in my electric vehicle / bicycle lane.
Starting in the 1950s, our cities were built to accommodate vehicles, and transportation engineers and planners really did think that we could design streets to reduce congestion by making roads bigger and wider. It only generated more congestion. So we've gone back the other direction, and we know things like road diets, reducing lane widths, reduces speed, improves safety, roundabouts improve speed, improve safety, and actually move traffic better. That has allowed people to use smaller vehicles. They go slower, so you're safer. The technology has allowed people to shift to more fuel-efficient vehicles and electric vehicles and hybrid vehicles such as those that are powered by electric and human pedaling. And so there's a lot of variety on our roads now that wasn't here 30 years ago.
Now that we've got complete streets, we've got more roundabouts, we've got less stop signs, less stoplights. You can actually get to work faster today going 20, 25 miles an hour than you could back in the day going 35, 40 miles an hour because we don't stop as often. And it's also safer.
Hi, I'm Mark Taylor. I was on the Solar Decathlon team in 2009, and now I'm living in the Gable home. Well, it's amazing. We were pretty hands-on. I was pretty hands-on in the construction, so it was nice to be able to see that happen and then get the chance to actually live in the place. I had some ideas as to how it would function, but to actually be in the place and see it function as it was designed is great.
Passive house often gets confused with passive solar. So we always say it's passive solar but more. It's all the other passive things as well. So we're focusing on systems design. We're harvesting all the ways that we can gain passively any kind of energy first. And we do that by building the house very airtight, so we don't have any losses to any leaks or holes. And that standard is not arbitrary. It's very closely calculated in regards to how much energy do we have to save in our buildings to have a realistic chance to avert the climate crisis and to reduce our CO2 emissions, as well as creating the most economical and comfortable house at the same time.
And the thing was, I was always in my mind, how is this house actually going to function? So to live in it and really see, I was always concerned maybe about the air tightness, but now if it feels a little claustrophobic, you just open the windows. It still keeps the heat in when it's cold out. So no, it's great. And the best thing about it is that we're not paying anything for power. Basically, we get checks from the supplier now.
So 20 years ago, when we went through our McMansion phase that we're looking back on not so fondly, where we have bathrooms the size of small apartment buildings, we're finding that we made some really critical mistakes on how we think about stuff, and not just energy and not just space, but the stuff that goes into our buildings and our communities. And we decided a long time ago that this was a bad idea and that we needed to revise what we were doing. And the houses that we have now obviously are a lot more efficient, a lot smaller, a lot higher quality. The things in it are useful and practical necessarily, but they fit together in a coordinated whole. It's a system instead of a things approach. And the fact that they're net energy providers and that they provide electricity and power for other units in the neighborhood is also a big advantage. The old housing that we still have, the existing housing stock is slowly changing into this mode, and the new stuff is able to provide the power that they need to survive as well. So the new paradigm is a lot more efficient, a lot better, I think a lot more stable.
Because the PV array on the top here, it produces more than what we need. So we had the opportunity to move into this village where our excess we could actually put to a whole community. And that's the basis of that community village, that basically you all live together, you share what you have, whether it be food supply or we have a common garden, so everybody who lives in the village can, if they're inclined to, they can farm, and then we share the excess in a similar way to our power. So 10 years ago, when we got into the design of this gable home, we didn't realise that the take-up from the public was going to be so big. I mean, when we were in DC, everybody loved it, but putting your money in to buy it, we didn't think that was going to happen so quickly, and it's good.
Now, when I was on campus back in 2007, we started a student sustainability fee, and it was only $4 at the time, but we did raise enough money to build a windmill that would power part of the campus's energy needs. And it was very controversial at the time, but we were committed to trying to create a greener environment. It was a lot of work. It was a lot of hard work. It was a struggle, but we were really committed to the idea of creating a sustainable environment, not just for ourselves and not just for our kids, but also for the future.
Well, 10 years ago, virtually all of our electricity came from coal power. More than 90% of our energy came from coal power. And so through a concerted community effort, including the campus really taking the lead on that, we have now converted all of our electric generation to renewable sources, including wind, solar, and methane digesters.
So we have a concrete representation of the kinds of stuff that we were fighting for when I was on campus. And it's interesting because we felt like we were doing something really important, and it was frustrating, and there was a lot of controversy.
I mean, look at it. You were still burning coal back then.
We did have the Abbott power plant back then, but we don't anymore. And that's because of people starting to think differently about what's important.
5 years ago, we converted Abbott to natural gas. Before that, it was burning coal. So we stopped burning coal 5 years ago. And then a month ago, we were actually able to stop burning natural gas as well because we have enough wind, solar, and methane digesters to power the entire campus. We have so much renewable energy, and we've reduced our energy consumption so much. We reduced our energy consumption 50% by recommissioning all of the buildings on campus, that we can now power 90% of the surrounding community with renewable energy. We didn't have a single wind turbine on campus 10 years ago, and now they're everywhere. And people have, that's a very visible sign of the transformation that we've undergone.
Getting off coal, moving Abbott out and decommissioning Abbott power plant on campus was critical. The new renewable energy farm, the development of that energy farm was critical. the fact that our housing stock now are net energy providers, those were all critical pieces in the history of our community. And it enabled us to reduce our physical infrastructure and start to think about quality of life issues instead of infrastructure issues as a way of supporting our community. And we got off a fossil fuel-based economy and we started thinking about other issues, social issues, instead of physical infrastructure issues that became more important in terms of investments. And our community has come a long way. We live longer, we live better. You know, we are much more productive. And I think if we had a happiness index in Champaign-Urbana, it would be a lot higher.
Yeah, things are different now because people think differently now. Right. We think more about the future. We think about larger things. And I think when we were students, that was hopefully the beginning of that. The way people think about things now, I think we've actually found a really good place to be.